They say the past never truly dies, especially in places like this, San Diego's Whaley House. By day, a beautiful old home, but once night falls, it becomes something else entirely. One investigator went in alone. He had only a journal and a voice recorder. What he saw in there and what followed him out haunted him for the rest of his life. Giggling children, a woman in green, a whisper that freezes your soul. Some doors, once opened, never truly close. Tonight, you will hear a true story of a night inside America's most haunted house and the terrifying price of asking the kind of questions the dead do not want answered. If you're fascinated by haunted places, ghost stories, and the mysterious history of Britain, then make sure to subscribe to our channel, British Hauntings. If you enjoy the video, give it a like. Your one click gives us the courage to bring you more chilling tales like this one. So then, let's head into the video and uncover the truth about that night at the Whaley House. The truth they tried to bury forever. They say the past never really dies at the Whaley House. It lingers in the creaking floorboards, in the drafty hallways, in the echo of a distant laugh that doesn't belong to anyone living. I didn't believe in ghosts, at least not until I stepped inside the Whaley House that humid July afternoon. In Old Town San Diego, the sun was shining outside, tourists milling around taking pictures of the historic brick building like it was just another museum. But inside, it felt like time had stopped breathing. I was alone. That was part of the deal. A solo paranormal investigator, spending one night in what many call the most haunted house in America. No crew, no cameras, just me, a digital recorder, and a worn leather journal to log anything unusual. I figured if anything, I'd get some eerie creaks, or maybe a breeze strong enough to shut a door. Nothing serious. I walked through the parlor, my footsteps muffled by the old carpet. The house was well kept, too well kept, almost like the Whaleys never left. Portraits still hung crookedly on the walls, eyes gazing outward with an almost smug knowledge I wasn't privy to. Then came the first sound. Not a bang, not a moan, but a giggle, a child's giggle, high-pitched, faint, and unmistakably close. I spun around. Nothing, no one, but I felt it. That sudden pressure in the room, like someone had stepped in right beside me. I held my breath. The air smelled of rosewater and dust. Just the house settling, I whispered to myself. I made my way upstairs toward the courtroom where Thomas Whaley once presided. As I reached the top of the steps, the air grew heavier. My ears popped, and for a brief moment, I could hear voices, faint, whispering, chanting something I couldn't understand. Then it stopped. I stood at the top of the stairs, frozen, unsure if my mind was playing tricks on me. I decided to check out the master bedroom, where Thomas and Anna Whaley had slept, and where Anna reportedly still lingers. The door creaked open on its own. Inside, the room looked untouched. The bed was neatly made. The rocking chair by the window slowly moved, as though someone had just gotten up. I stepped inside and set my recorder on the dresser, sat down on the edge of the bed. "Is anyone here with me?" I asked, voice barely above a whisper. Silence. Then the recorder clicked off. No error, no battery failure, just off. And that's when I saw her, a reflection, not in a mirror, but in the window. A woman in a green dress, standing behind me, pale face, hollow eyes. Her lips didn't move, but I heard her. "He still walks here." I grabbed the recorder, pressed play, static, but then a voice came through. "You shouldn't be here." A low, guttural voice, male, threatening. I left the bedroom and stumbled back downstairs, my heart pounding. But the moment I reached the bottom step, something cold grabbed my wrist. I looked down. Nothing was there, but the imprint of a hand stayed on my skin. I was done. I had seen enough. As I turned to leave, the front door slammed shut. The locks clicked into place on their own. The chandelier in the hallway began to sway violently. Every window in the house fogged up in an instant, and across the living room mirror, in long dripping streaks, appeared a message. "I did." I don't remember how I got the door open. I don't remember running into the street screaming like a lunatic in the middle of a sun-drenched afternoon. But I remember what I saw when I looked back. In the upstairs window, standing behind the lace curtain, was the woman in the green dress watching me, smiling. Since that night, I've never been the same. The Whaley house didn't just scare me. It changed something inside me. I hear things when I'm alone. I wake up at 3 a.m. sharp every night. Sometimes I catch glimpses of her in reflections, always watching. It's been 3 months since I fled the Whaley house, but it hasn't let me go. I thought I could forget. I really did. Thought I could tuck that night away into a box and bury it beneath routine and silence. But some boxes don't stay buried, not when they're filled with whispers. It started with small things. My phone would ring in the middle of the night. No caller ID, just static on the other end. Then breathing. Then her voice. The same woman from the window. Come back. The dreams followed, always the same. I'm standing at the top of the Whaley house staircase, staring down at a shadow that stretches the length of the hallway, flickering like candlelight. Then it rushes up the steps, and just before it reaches me, I wake, soaked in sweat and gasping. But the worst part, I'm not the only one affected. Last week, my sister came over. She stayed the night after I told her I wasn't sleeping. Around 2:30 a.m., she screamed. I ran to the guest room and found her standing in the corner, shivering, eyes wide and blank. She was here, she whispered. The lady with the green dress. She said you opened the door. I didn't tell her she was right. I'd been hearing scratching sounds behind the walls, or that sometimes when I walk past the bathroom mirror, it fogs up, and that same word appears again and again. Return. I tried to reach out to others who'd spent time at the Whaley house. Most refused to talk. A few hung up. One man, a former historian, agreed to meet me at a diner 10 miles from Old Town. He walked in looking half dead, pale skin, bloodshot eyes, trembling hands. You let her see you, he said, skipping any greeting. The woman in green, that's Anna Whaley. But the thing is, it's not her anymore. I leaned in. What do you mean? He lowered his voice. She's hollow, like something else wears her skin now, pretends to be her. That house, something older lives there. It feeds on curiosity, and it's growing stronger. I asked him what I could do. He didn't answer, just slid a small worn box across the table. Inside was a rusted key and a folded piece of paper. You want it to stop. You go back. I waited a week. I tried burning the paper. It wouldn't catch. I tossed the key into the bay. It was back in my mailbox the next morning. The choice was gone. So tonight, I returned. Not as an investigator, not as a skeptic, but as something closer to prey. The Whaley house looked the same, quaint, harmless. But the moment I crossed the threshold, the air shifted, heavy, charged, like a storm without thunder. The front door closed behind me on its own. The silence inside was suffocating. I climbed the stairs slowly. Every step groaned beneath my weight. But this time, she wasn't waiting in the reflection. She was sitting in the chair, head tilted, eyes locked on mine. Welcome home, she said. Her voice chilled the marrow in my bones.
Welcome home.
She didn't move, not at first, just sat in the rocking chair, hands folded neatly on her lap, like a woman waiting for tea. But her eyes, dark, glassy, impossibly still, held me in place like a hook in my chest. I wanted to speak, to ask why I was here, what she wanted, but I couldn't move my lips, couldn't even blink. The room seemed to stretch, the walls pulsing like a lung, inhaling around me. Then the chair stopped rocking. She stood, and with every inch she rose, her body seemed to grow, too tall, her joints bending in ways they shouldn't, her smile widened unnaturally. It wasn't just Anna Whaley standing in that room. Something else was inside her.
I remember you,
she said, voice like silk soaked in rot.
You came with questions.
questions, but now you're an answer.
I tried to back away, but the floor behind me gave way. It didn't collapse, it vanished. I was falling, free falling through a tunnel of black and flickering candlelight, through walls covered in peeling wallpaper and whispers. Then silence. I landed in the courtroom. The old wooden benches were empty. The judge's bench stood in the shadows, covered in cobwebs. The air was cold, wet, and every breath felt like inhaling water. Someone was behind me. I turned. It was Thomas Whaley, or what was left of him. His face was blurred like a photograph warped by heat. One eye drooped unnaturally. His lips moved, but his voice came from all around the room. "She's not ours anymore. She belongs to him." "Who?" I asked, finally finding my voice. Thomas didn't answer. He simply raised a crooked hand and pointed toward the hall. So I followed. The hallway was longer than it should have been, lined with portraits that shifted as I passed. Their eyes followed me. Some cried black tears, others bared teeth. A child's voice giggled in the distance, echoing endlessly. And then I found the basement door. I hadn't even realized I was standing in front of it. It was wide open. Darkness leaked from it like smoke. The walls around it pulsed, and in that moment, I knew that's where it lived. The stairs were damp and soft underfoot. The light from above dimmed with every step until I was wrapped in darkness. And then I saw him, a tall figure, standing in the center of the basement, draped in shadow. I couldn't see his face, just the outline of a man with antler-like horns sprouting from his head. His arms were too long, his fingers thin as wires, curled toward the dirt floor. He didn't speak. He simply raised his hand, and the house screamed. Not a noise, not a creak, but a scream, as if the very walls were in agony. I clutched my head as visions poured in flashes of every soul that had entered this place and never truly left, trapped. Broken echoes living on in eternal replay. I dropped to my knees, trying to shut it out, but the basement floor split open, revealing a pit of writhing shadows. They reached for me, clawing at my skin, whispering secrets I never wanted to know. Then I heard her again. "Leave if you want, but part of you stays." I opened my eyes. I was back on the parlor floor. Morning sunlight streamed through the dusty windows. Birds chirped outside, but something was wrong. The front door was open. Tourists were entering. A new day at the Whaley House, and no one could see me. They walked right through me. If you visit the Whaley House today, you might see a figure in the parlor. Not Anna, not Thomas. Someone else. Someone standing behind the glass, watching. A shadow of a man who came with questions and never truly left. I don't know how much time has passed. Days, weeks. Time doesn't move the same way anymore. Not here. I walk the halls of the Whaley House like a breeze that never leaves, a whisper that never stops. I thought I'd escaped when the sun came through the windows, when I woke on the parlor floor, but it was just another trick, a new illusion wrapped in daylight, stuck between floors, between time, between the walls. And I'm not alone. There are others. I can hear them. Some sob in the attic, some scream into the fireplace at night. One just laughs constantly, a dry, high-pitched wheeze that echoes through the floorboards at 3:17 a.m. every night without fail. Sometimes I try to leave. I float to the threshold when the front door opens. I try to follow the tourists, but the moment I step through, everything turns black. Not dark black, cold and bottomless, like being swallowed. They don't see me, the people, the guides, the curious skeptics. But sometimes, just sometimes, a child will pause mid-step and stare toward me. Their brows knit, head tilts, and their eyes widen. "He's sad," one little girl whispered last week, pointing at nothing. Her mother laughed, not seeing me just inches away. Another time, a man walked into the courtroom and dropped his phone. When he picked it up, his face went pale. He'd caught me in the reflection, just a blur at the edge of the frame. He deleted it instantly, turned and left without saying a word. The woman in green still watches me, or whatever is inside her now. She appears in flashes at the top of the stairs, rocking slowly in her chair, gliding through walls, but she never talks anymore. She just watches watches, lips pressed into a pale smile. And that smile, it never reaches her eyes. She's waiting for what I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if she's trapped too, or if she's part of it now, woven to the bones of this place, the foundation, the rot in the beams. Maybe she was the first thread, and now we're all tangled in the same web. And he still lives below, that tall figure in the basement, the one with the horns. I don't go down there anymore. The last time I did, he turned his head, and I swear he spoke, not in words, but in thoughts that crack through my skull. I try to remember my name sometimes, but it's fading. All I have now are pieces, a red notebook, a silver key, and a camera lens that no longer reflects anything but dust and flickers of light. Sometimes I wonder if someone will come looking for me, someone who still believes, someone who won't turn away at the first whisper, the first shadow, someone like I was, curious, brave, stupid. But if you're reading this, if somehow my story finds its way out, listen closely. Don't go. Don't walk those creaking stairs. Don't look into the mirror at the end of the hallway. And whatever you do, never open the basement door. Because if you do,
you'll hear the house breathe, and the moment you breathe back even once, it'll never let you go. The Whaley House remains open to the public. Tours daily. Paranormal experiences reported by dozens each year. Tonight, something changed. The house is quieter. Too quiet. The air feels heavier, like it's waiting, holding its breath, and I feel it deep in whatever is left of me. The end is near. But whose end? That's still unclear. There's a sound coming from the attic now. Not the sobbing I used to hear. Not footsteps or laughter. It's scratching. Long, slow, rhythmic. Something carving into the wood. When I float toward it, the walls shiver. The wallpaper ripples like skin. The house doesn't want me up there. It's afraid of something. That's new. Until now it was always in control. But tonight, it's not. I passed the mirror in the hallway. My reflection was clear this time. Too clear. I looked real. Flesh, skin, eyes filled with fear and memory. And someone was standing behind me. Not Anna, not Thomas. It was me. A version of me before I entered this place. Alive, breathing, holding my red notebook in one hand, a silver key in the other. I watched as my reflection looked up and spoke without moving its lip. I didn't know what it meant. But the key, the one I found in the courtroom weeks ago, it was back in my pocket. Warm, vibrating, like it wanted to be used. And suddenly, I knew. The attic, the stairs groaned as I ascended, each one warping under my weightless steps. The door at the top wasn't locked. It never had been. But no one ever wanted to open it, until now. The door creaked open. The attic smelled of smoke and mold, and something ancient. Older than the house, older than the land it stood on. In the center of the room sat a circle of broken toys, dolls missing eyes, wooden blocks soaked in something dark and dry, and on the far wall, carvings, dozens of names scratched deep into the wood. Mine was the last one, fresh, but next to it was the outline of a keyhole, one I never noticed before, not until tonight. With shaking hands that weren't hands anymore, I pressed the silver key into it and turned. The entire house screamed. The floor beneath me convulsed. Shadows spilled out from the cracks like blood. Faces poured from the walls, screaming, crying, begging. Anna appeared. Her dress ripped and floating like she was underwater. Her mouth stretched open, but no sound came out. Only light, blinding, white-hot light. Then silence.